Hello and welcome back to HR Stew. My name is Regina Dyerly.
And I'm Holly Nels, and this is HR Stew.
You nailed the interview, they loved you, and now the offer letter hits your inbox. Exciting? Yes. Stressful? Also yes. Today we're diving into job offers and hiring, the awkward negotiations, the ghosting, the counteroffers, and everything in between, but of course from the HR side. Let's start out with a simple question. What's the biggest misconception candidates have about job offers?
That hiring is the manager's number one top priority. You're going to get it as soon as you walk out the door. There are many things to take into consideration. The hiring managers are busy doing, jobs, and the hiring process is not their primary focus. While it may be very important and high on the list, you're not going to get an offer as soon as you walk out the door.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, they're actually like covering for the work that's missing. So, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, because when you're looking for a job, it's your top priority. So you would think that it would be other people as well. And you have a sense of urgency that they're just not going to have.
Right.
I would say also, I think from an HR perspective, I think, they're just like, oh, well, now you just have to draft up the offer letter and that's, the end of it. But there's so much more work that happens after that. Could be compensation benchmarking, internal equity reviews, a budget sign off, executive approval, background checks, reference checks, sometimes board approval if it's a high, executive position.
Oh, yeah.
You've encountered that, I know, because you've been on panels.
Yes.
So there's just a lot that goes into getting that move forward sometimes. Look, even internally here, we were waiting to make an offer and I had to meet with the two other partners. And I couldn't get a meeting with the two of them together, for like 5 days. So, I mean, just sometimes things are outside of your control, even if it is a priority.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue that. So the interviews are complete and you're ready to choose a candidate and extend a job offer. So let's discuss. Have you ever seen an offer fall apart at the last minute?
Yeah. Yes, so many times, actually.
Yes, the same.
Look, especially with counteroffers, and we've even had that happen here, right? And we'll talk about my philosophy on counteroffers, which I know we've talked about before.
We have. I know your philosophy.
I actually have a terrible situation that happened, that it fell apart on our side, not on the candidate side. At my last company, when I first started working there, my friend Shalonda worked there with me, and we both came from a company before that together. And we needed a trainer, and we had recruited somebody that had worked at my previous employer for like 13 years.
Oh, wow.
He was there a long time. And so we met with him, we talked to him, we did multiple interviews, we extended an offer, and then he gave his notice. He accepted it, he gave his notice. And then the day before he was about to start, we got this new operations director. And I didn't really like to, I know I probably have talked about her before because she kind of terrorized me, actually. I'm not even going to be nice about it anymore. But she came in and she was like, you need to rescind the offer.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? He gave notice. Like, he was at the last company for like 13 years. Like, he would have never even left. Like, we actively recruited him.
Right.
Like, the job was approved. And she made me do it. I had to do it. I was like literally on the verge of vomiting. I was so upset. And then I called him and he was like, just a record, he did end up working there later and he still actually works there.
Oh, wow.
But not then. And he said, I just had a feeling and I didn't give notice. And so it ended up working out. Like, I was like, first of all, I thought that was crazy. They didn't give notice because he was supposed to start. Like, that was like a Friday, like on Monday or whatever it was. But something in him had told him to not do it. And I don't know what he was going to do. I don't really know what he was going to do. But anyway.
I'm sure you felt relieved.
I was relieved, but I still felt so, I guess, demoralized. Like, when you go through a whole process like that, it was like a game to this woman.
Right.
It was like, this was someone's life.
Right.
Because your livelihood is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
And, she was just a cruel person.
What's the saying? Don't mess with people's money and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but in the opposite order.
Kids and money, yeah. I agree. I've seen them fall apart for budget cut reasons, especially I had one not that long ago. It was a nonprofit, so you have to go through the board.
Sure.
Their annual budget was approved, and then all of a sudden they were going to hire a director position, which had been approved. And then not even a month later, they had found an amazing candidate, done everything. And then they decided, we're not going to go in that direction. We're going to completely restructure and start over. And they ended up not offering this person a position. But people in leadership change, make their opinions change on how they want to structure everything. Or people who come in and want to show their value and I forget what you always say, but what's your saying about people who want to show how big and tough they are? Or
it's not coming to me. I don't know. I don't know what my saying is. I don't know if I'm aware it's my saying.
But I could see in the obvious ones, failed drug screens or background checks. Those are the obvious ones.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even like when you're working in a little bit of a less structured environment, where you don't have established pay grades, but you have like a range. Because I've worked for smaller companies that wasn't something that they wanted. They didn't want to be restricted by that. So back in the day, before we had to post in Colorado salary ranges, this would happen more, that you have the range posted and then they just think they negotiate you up.
Right.
But sometimes it doesn't work out for that reason. And, managers are like devastated. Like they find someone who they perceive to be like the perfect candidate for them, which you don't know until they start anyway.
Right.
But you think you do. And then we just cannot make it happen because it makes everything else out of alignment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why things fall apart and it stinks.
It does.
So most people want a job offer ASAP, as we've discussed. But what work goes into the post-interview process to choose a candidate all the way to a job offer?
I mean, after approval of the job and the candidate or whatever, reference checking, especially if you're doing verification of employment, they don't call back. They just don't. Like there's been times when we've had everything back, but we just can't get it verified. So, it's like, do you have a number that we could call directly to verify this? Like, this just isn't happening. Obviously, like I said, internal approvals, compensation alignment, which we just talked about. Sometimes role clarity, like sometimes a job description is put together pretty quickly and then other people are like, well, that's actually my responsibility, or that should be under me, or, all the different things that happen when you're defining. Hopefully that's done prior, but it's not always.
I think another one, even before the offer letter is sent, just getting that feedback if you have an interview panel, getting that feedback from every member of the team. And if there's multiple people, because everybody has their own opinion and their own thoughts. I just remembered another story that we did verifications of employment for this employee and had him start before everything came back, and everything that he did in his previous role, it aligned with this role. And then a week after he started, it was like, something seems a little off. He did not have the role that he put on his resume. Once the lady called me back to complete the verification of employment, she was like, absolutely not. He never did that. I would run.
Oh,
yes.
Now that's something for someone to say that.
Oh, yeah. And then she asked me, she was an office manager, not an HR person. She's like, what can I tell you? And I was like, don't tell me anything. You've told me enough. And we moved on because he did lie on his resume.
Right. Well, you're allowed to lie on your resume.
It was a big...
Not on your application, though.
It was yeah.
Well, he lied.
He lied.
In general.
He lied in general. He wasn't a good fit. After a week, he was not a good fit.
I shouldn't have said you're allowed to lie on your resume, but it's not termination-worthy offense if you find out after they're working there.
We did you're not the right fit for the organization in this role.
Got it.
Yeah. So wait until you get the verification of employment's back is the moral of the story.
Just complete the process.
Yeah.
The process is in place for a reason. Stop trying to rush it.
All right. So from a candidate perspective, then, is it a red flag if you have an offer in the interview or within an hour?
So they met you one time. In the course of that 1 hour interview, they extend you an offer?
Yes.
I think so. I mean, but what you do with that is up to you. If you're out of work and you have nothing to lose, then maybe go for it. Certainly would not quit a job to take like that's kind of impulsive and is an indicator of, yeah, it's a red flag for sure. But if you're not working, I'd say roll the dice. Maybe it'll work out. Some people just go with their gut, and just have a good feeling about somebody, which usually means that they feel like they're, what's that, affinity bias?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something similar about them that they feel like they like. But yeah.
I think to play the other side of the coin,
I do appreciate that you didn't use your tagline.
I think that could be, what if they've gone through 3 rounds of interviews? They've interviewed with the board, they've interviewed with the, executive director, and they're the candidate that stands out the most. I think in that instance, I wouldn't say it's that big of a red flag because you've already spoken to everybody. You've already asked all your questions. What does this work environment look like? And tried to obtain if that's a good fit for you, if that's a good fit for them as well.
Right, but that person went through the whole process.
Right.
So, and you're just saying, and then they offer him the job in a final
at the end of
interview?
like the 3rd interview or something like that.
That's not a red flag at all. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, the job offer is sent, and now it's time to wait for the reply or signature. Let's discuss the negotiation process. So first, what makes a candidate instantly more compelling during negotiations? And on the other side, what is a red flag in the negotiation process?
I love negotiating, not job related, but just buying a car, buying a house. It brings me great joy to negotiate and negotiate prices. I think on both sides, doing all your homework, knowing, what is comparable in your area for this position, what's comparable for the organization, and really coming with a legitimate argument. And in Colorado, we have to post our salary range and making sure that it's within the salary range and what you offer for this position, what skills you offer for this position, I should say, and what that rate should be. And on the other side, the red flag is if you come knowing all this information, but you're still, let's say the salary range is 50 to 70,000 and you're asking for 100,000 because you think you offer so much more. That's not what was posted. That's not, what the company had budgeted. That's a red flag.
Well, okay. I do think in the state of Colorado and other states that have pay transparency laws, it makes it easier to negotiate. Mm-hmm. Because if there is a range and your experience level, let's say you have 5 years experience, or let's say you have 30 years of experience, like what would be the reason for not giving you the max if you have that much experience?
Right.
So I think that gives you leverage that doesn't exist in other states. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think it does make it easier because you're not just shooting in the dark. You don't know what what the budget is at least.
Right.
But I think that it's really important. And I think that, we know statistically that women negotiate less than men.
Yes.
And I think it's important to get as much money up front as possible. Because after that, it's out of your control. You could be in 2%, 3% hell.
Yeah.
For maybe the rest of your tenure there, depending if you don't get promoted. So I do think you need to negotiate and really try, to get as much up front. I know that sounds tacky, but that's just corporate America.
Right.
And sometimes there's no wiggle room. And sometimes you're dealing with an HR department who, especially at larger companies, who will not wiggle.
Yeah.
And even if they can, they just won't.
Right.
So there's that. Red flags on the other side, I've had everything from kind of like ultimatums when someone feels like they have a skill set that is definitely very marketable, or even tried to use like some kind of emotional tactics, talking about their family, just different things to try. And it's like, this is a math equation. This has nothing to do with anything other than what you're going to bring to the table. Nothing outside should be considered, because we shouldn't care if you're a single person or if you have 10 kids.
Right.
That doesn't matter to what you're going to bring to the table for the job. Counteroffers or not counteroffers, but saying that they have another offer in hand, but then not giving you any proof that exists. Like, am I supposed to just take you at your word that you got an offer for 20% more?
Right.
Or something? Like, then show me the offer. I've never asked for it, but show it to me, because what you're saying could be made up. And I know that because I've been doing this a long time, Also, we've had people renegotiate after the offer was signed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that to me is not cool. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. We came to an agreement. now all of a sudden something else happened and you're like, yeah, actually I need this.
Right.
Or I reviewed the benefits, even though you had it before, and I realized I'm going to be paying such and such more, so now I need this. I don't know. That is off-putting to me. It's like, do your research before you negotiate initially. I think there's nothing wrong with negotiating. It is a skill. I actually don't enjoy it. Like, I don't really get anything out of haggling. I'm like a terrible flea market, or when people go to like other countries and like, oh, you could get, I'm just like, how much is it? And then I just pay whatever it is.
Listen, take me with you.
My husband's like, did you just pay $30 for a little? We went to Mexico. I bought this little elephant statue for my aunt, and I paid $30 for it. It was not worth $30,
Yeah.
like whatever. And I was like, oh, on vacation. They needed it. Whatever. I just want a fair offer.
Yeah.
You know, in a perfect world, to me, if you have a range, even if it's not published, even in another state, you know, and you know what I'm bringing to the table, I pass everything. Give me the proper offer. Don't try to lowball me so that I can negotiate.
Right.
I actually don't like that. What am I saying?
Tactic.
Gosh, I don't like that at all. Like,
Yeah.
just make me a fair offer. And if I feel like it's fair, I'm going to accept it. I don't feel the need to negotiate beyond what's fair, you know, and just tell us, we actually put our numbers together. Well, this is our best offer. Really, we considered everything, and either I'm going to accept it or I'm not. Now, I know not everybody's that way, so that's a me specific thing, but that's how I operate also.
Gotcha. My niece just recently graduated from college, and when she was going out looking for a job, I said, you need to take into consideration benefits, the cost of benefits, how many days of PTO you're going to receive. She wants to get her master's. Like, will this company, you know, do some reimbursement for your schooling? You need to take into consideration all of these different aspects, not just your overall annual salary. And I think a lot of people don't do that.
Total compensation
Yeah.
is so important to look at. Because benefits are so important. Like, sometimes you don't realize how much money, even if you're young and healthy, stuff happens.
Right.
You know, so you really want to look at what is the out-of-pocket maximum? What is the employer paying towards my premium? You know, outside of the ACA requirement. I don't know. There's just, there's a lot to consider. Ask for the benefit book for sure. Ask for all the information so you can make an educated decision. Don't just take an offer letter and accept it, and then look at everything else after, even if you are excited.
Yeah.
You touched on this, but how can HR managers avoid an awkward negotiation stage?
So if you're not in Colorado where there's ranges, which I think help with that, absolutely being transparent about the range, you know, or even be transparent about how you calculate within the range if you want. You don't have to do that, but if you're concerned about that, that's certainly something that you could do. Ask about their expectations prior. Nobody should be making an offer without having a conversation about what the candidate is looking for.
Right. Or continuing with the interview process if the candidate is looking for a $100,000 salary on a $50,000 budget.
Right.
Have you ever rescinded or reconsidered an offer because of the negotiation behavior?
I could honestly say that I have absolutely reconsidered, but I can't recall ever rescinding, but I do know that I regretted it. So I should have.
I can't recall anything that I've ever done either.
All right, so let's flip to the candidate side. What advice would you give someone negotiating for the first time?
Do your homework, set realistic expectations, and know when to walk away.
I think also silence is a weapon. And I know we've talked about that before. It's like you say what you want and then be quiet. Let them talk. Don't get nervous and start talking or backpedaling or apologizing or any of that stuff. Just say your number and silence.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard thing to do, but you need to do it.
All right, so for the most part, after the offer is signed, it's pretty smooth sailing. But let's talk about when it is rough waters. Ghosting, surprise counteroffers, etc. Have you ever had a candidate ghost you after signing the job offer? And how often does that happen?
Well, at my last employer, we would have classes that were very large. We could be hiring anywhere between 30 to 60 people a week. But I would sit with almost every candidate. I'd extend an offer. I'd give them an offer letter. It was time consuming. Sometimes I'd be really surprised about people that just would not show up.
Right.
They were so excited. They had that you could see a trajectory for them because there was a lot of growth opportunities there. It happens a lot. I mean, we hear about it all the time. People just don't show up. And I just will never understand just ghosting. I think the business world is small plays and you don't know where people are going to end up. And so just to not at least say, I got another offer, something came up, I have to go out of town, I'm washing my hair for the next week, whatever you need to say. I just don't understand. But some people are ill-equipped to have any kind of what they perceive to be a confrontational conversation, when in reality there might be disappointment, but people will appreciate the call.
Right.
Most people.
And it doesn't even have to be a call. It can be a 60-second email of,
correct.
I'm sorry, I can't take this job. You do not have to speak to someone.
Sometimes you're corresponding over text. I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any easier than that. So I don't really understand the ghosting thing, but it happens a lot.
It does happen a lot. And I think you're right. You never know who you're going to run into later on down the road at your dream job. Could have been the hiring manager that you ghosted last year, and they're not going to hire you for that reason. So,
is it ever okay to accept an offer and keep interviewing?
I mean, look, this happens a lot. People will accept a job that they really weren't excited about just to have a job, and then they'll keep on interviewing. I guess it goes both ways, but I don't think so. People are investing in you. They're investing in training and time and other people's time and resources. I think it's cruel and unusual, but it happens a lot.
And I think allowing yourself extra time to accept an offer after you've been presented with the offer letter, it might buy you more time to take those 3 extra interviews throughout the week.
But some clients don't let you do that. I mean, we have a client that gives them what was it? It was a day. They want to know. It was in the offer letter.
Right.
So some people want people to be in right away. So that's not a luxury that's afforded to everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So to close it up, what is your philosophy on if a candidate comes back with a counteroffer from a different company?
I'm giving this one to you, Regina. I know you have strong feelings.
So, look, I just don't believe in counteroffers. I don't believe it from existing staff. If someone comes to me with an offer and say that they were actively interviewing and they have an offer and are looking for me to counteroffer, I will never do it. Mm-hmm. So if you have a conversation with me prior and you tell me that you're unhappy about certain things, or somebody had called you about an opportunity and you don't know what to do, I know I'm not the same as everybody, but that's a fair conversation because I think you should explore opportunities. But if you have made the decision, if you accept an offer and are coming to me for a counteroffer, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So I don't believe in it. 80% of people do not stay more than a year after a counteroffer. That's a real stat. That's been a stat for years. It might even be worse now. I don't know. That was the last time I looked to justify my feelings about this. Counteroffers fix money. It doesn't fix whatever the root cause is.
Right.
So they're looking to leave for a reason. If the reason is just money, then they're not for you either.
Right. I think it really depends on if you have some great candidate and everybody else in your interview pool was awful and they're asking for $5,000 more. Like, hey, this just fell in my lap. I was offered an additional $5,000 and 5 days of PTO or something. I might consider it, but I know how you feel about it.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't consider that. My counteroffer hard stance is really about employees that are working for us.
Right.
Right. So if someone's going through the process and they come earnestly saying, this is my number one choice, I'm not playing games, but is there any wiggle room because I did get $5,000 more, whatever, blah, blah.
Right.
I don't know that I would do it.
Yeah.
If we already negotiated and we give fair offers, I don't know if the budget will allow it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right, so now we go to Ask HR, the segment where we go to the online forum Ask HR, where people can ask experts questions and get answers. So this comes from user misfitkid_99, and it is titled Job Offer Ghosted. It reads, a few months ago, a manager position opened up on my team. Because I was uncertain about how my experience lined up with the qualifications listed in the posting, I assumed I would not be eligible to apply. However, my supervisor and director approached me and shared that they have been in discussions with HR about a, quote, work for experience plan that would make me eligible for consideration and make up for my, in their words, lack of management experience. My team highly encouraged me to apply. I proceeded with the application process under the understanding that if I performed well, I'd be offered the interim appointment. This interim role would allow me to demonstrate my capabilities during the 15-week observation period, after which I would receive the official title if I met all performance criteria. The process included submitting a resume and cover letter, responding to screening questions, and completing 2 rounds of interviews. I was subsequently offered the interim position, and signed an offer letter stating that external recruitment would continue during my observation period, and that if I met expectations and no stronger candidate was identified, I would be offered the permanent manager role. A few days after I signed the offer letter, HR contacted my director stating that even if I were the only candidate at the conclusion of the 15-week period, I would not be offered the position due to my lack of management experience. I was not informed of this directly and instead pieced it together through multiple conversations with member of my leadership team and context clues. During this time, 2 external candidates were offered the role and both declined. 10 weeks into my interim appointment, no additional candidates have been identified and external recruitment efforts were paused. I later learned that recruitment was paused because HR and my leadership team were discussing eliminating the manager position entirely and replacing it with 2 supervisor roles. I have since been informed that 1, I remain ineligible for the manager position and now it is no longer going to be available. 2, if I'm interested in the supervisor role, I will need to reapply and re-interview. And 3, I would report to someone who has been my peer for the past 3 months. Last official communication I received from HR was my original offer letter. What should I do in this situation to maintain my upward movement in the company, or at least keep my job? Should I go directly to HR, or will that just make things worse?
Apply for the supervisor position.
I have such strong feelings about this. This is just so wrong how they're handling this. Like, how is somebody who's not a manager supposed to get management experience if you're not going to give it to them? So who authorized this 15-week interim or what was it called? I can't remember.
It was a work for experience plan.
Right. Was HR not involved in that? Like, how could they okay. This is just really messy. And I understand that he wants a job. I do not know why he would want to continue working here. Like, they are playing with him. Like, this is like a psychological contract breach of some sort. Like, this is just so insulting. Like, you're good enough to do this job. First of all, I have never heard, Holly, have you heard of someone giving someone an interim job and saying, but we're still going to look for someone better than you? That's crazy.
No.
I've never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what company he's working for, but they're a bunch of jokers.
My recommendation, apply for the supervisor position. Let's hope you get it and start looking for another job. And that time that you're a supervisor, add it to your resume, start building your resume. And at the new company, you have leadership experience.
Yeah, that's a nice positive spin. I guess my recommendation would be I would not meet with HR alone because I don't think they're trustworthy. And that happens sometimes. Like, I feel like they've inserted themselves in this process. Like, if leadership was willing to do this, why is HR being a bottleneck?
Right.
Like, why don't they want people to grow? So to me, this is like the type of, based on the information that's provided, obviously, if this is all true, this is like in my opinion, the worst kind of HR person, really. So I would have a meeting with HR and leadership, and just asking, I would keep it positive, even though it'll be hard. And I would ask some pointed questions under the guise of career development. What criteria would allow me to be promotable with my current experience and now having management experience?
Right.
So why are they saying he doesn't have management experience when he actually does? It's only 90 days or whatever, but still he has it. According to him, he had the endorsement of his team members. He was promoted into the position. Why is no one accepting this position either? That's another really suspect thing. Like, what's going on here? Something's not right. He needs to ask what experience gap he has to close and how they're going to help him do that, because that's a fair question.
Yeah.
I don't know how long. Does he say how long he's worked there? He doesn't, right?
No, it does not.
What's his development plan? How is he going to move to the next level? But also, I think he has to look for another job.
100%.
Like, they're doing him really dirty, just all around, right from the beginning. Like, understanding that he doesn't have management experience, but you put him in the role.
Yeah.
It was an interim role, which means he got no pay increase. He was doing the work for nothing. right? I don't know. This whole thing is really, really ugly, I think. He was told one thing, he signed something, and then the direction changed without any transparent communication. The fact that he said he had to piece it together himself, no one's just being like honest with him. I think he has to have an honest conversation with himself. Like, are they invested in him? Because it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Look for another job.
It's tough to think about that, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're that bought into him.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed your time with us, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have any HR stories or questions to share, message us on Instagram at hr.stew. I'm Holly.
And I'm Regina.
And we'll see you next time on HR Stew.